up? It's your girl Angie Fox in the house again. Y'all already know it is a pleasure to be with you all today, and I'm so glad that I get to show off because I don't roll alone. I'm rolling today with a very beautiful sister friend, a young lady who is awesome in her own right. Let me tell you something. I am honored, I'm elated, excited, and pleased to have this very special guest with me today. And we call her the Grieving Gracefully. I said the Grieving Gracefully because she is the icon, the epitome of grieving gracefully. Her name is Sallie Isaac. And Sallie, it is my pleasure to have you. Thank you for being with us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing pretty well. I was a little under
Right.
the weather earlier, but I'm doing good right now.
Well, you look mighty good to me. So that's a thumbs up right there. Thank you
Right.
for taking the time out of your day to be with us. You know, as many of you know, my entire platform is about mental wellness, helping others, guiding others through mental health issues, and helping them to sustain mental wellness. Well, this particular episode is near and dear to my heart because we're coming right along those veins, in that vein of helping people to overcome depression and thrive beyond obstacles and sustain mental wellness. It's a story that you need to hear. This mother, this beautiful young lady has a story of her own that she wants to share. And I want you all to listen attentively, call your neighbors, your friends, and everybody you know, and tell them that the place to be is We Are One Right Now podcast on Empowerment Podcast Network, because there is a story that you just got to hear. So, Sallie, before we get into your story, tell us, who is Sallie Isaac?
Um, I'm a wife, mom of five. We are a blended family. One is an angel. I also have we are newly grandparents. I'm a new grandparent.
Okay, congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. And I
You're
teach
so
how to grieve gracefully. I don't know.
okay. She's a survivor, she's a warrior, and she is setting the trail ablaze with grieving gracefully. What is grieving gracefully?
Well, it started from, I say, November of 2023. Me and my business partner, she was like, Sallie, we was talking and she was like, Sallie, you grieve differently. And we was trying to come up with a name. And she was like, grieving gracefully. And I was like, okay. Like I
Like
didn't
that.
just agreeing to the name. I didn't think it would be what it is. I just thought
Yeah.
like I would just be sharing my story. But the more I learned about myself through God, he started showing me like what it really is to grieve gracefully and to show people how to I tell my story and I break it up into bits and pieces of how I'm going through my journey and what God has shown me through my journey.
Wow.
And I tell people and I show people how God has gifted me strength
Mm,
and
gifted.
where I can show people
Yeah.
how to grieve gracefully.
So you're talking about grieving gracefully. We could talk some more about that, because when you think about it, you think that it's an oxymoron. How you're grieving, you think of
Right.
sackcloth and down and out and sadness and moping and just giving up. But then you say grieving gracefully. That takes it to a whole nother level, showing you how to do it. But before we get into that, you mentioned that you are a mother of five, and that one of your babies is an angel. So we're talking about your angel. Talk to us about what is it that you're grieving from?
Our oldest son was 18 at the time. He had just turned 18 a week prior to, and he took his life on December 28th, 2022 at our home.
Took his life. I
Hmm.
can't even imagine, because I am a mom and a grandmom. I can't imagine, don't even want to imagine what you must be going through emotionally, physically, um, in every way, having to see your baby take his own life in your home.
Mhm.
So we will talk about that because we know that depression is real. We know that there are many, many signs of mental health issues. We also know that in the day that we're in now, even with suicide being on the rise and so many people are suffering from mental health issues, we know that many people still say it's taboo to talk about it. It is not something that you tell others about. And we want to, as I'm sure you are with you with Grieving Gracefully, your Grieving Gracefully platform, we want to not just bring awareness, but we want to sound the alarm that it is okay to need help and to ask for help. So your baby, Sallie, you say was 18 years old when he
Right.
took his own life. Can you tell us about that journey, his journey? What happened? What transpired? What do you think caused that to be his solution?
I believe it was fear. Um, because 22, the end of 2021, we got him a therapist. So I'm gonna say 2020, the end of 2020, maybe the beginning of 2021, I noticed a change in him and he didn't want to play sports no more. So I was like, that's weird
Right.
that you don't want to play sports. And you like he's been playing basketball since he was 5. He was playing, at school. He also was a part of an AAU team around town as well. So I was confused when he said that he didn't want to play anymore. So, I reach out to his coaches and things like that. And, they reach out to him and talk to him. And then we did get him back into playing. But then he started sneaking out of the house. And I guess I'm kind of old school
Yeah.
because I was raised by old school mama. Because it's like whenever he would do wrong, it's like I didn't have to go look for what he done. God would show me.
Right.
So anytime he snuck out of the house, God would wake me up out my sleep, and then I would see that he's gone. And I'm like, God, I don't feel like I should put my hands on my child for my child to listen to me. And I'm like, Lord, I need you because I'm not understanding why
Yeah.
he is sneaking out of the house. Because I would tell him, I'm like, Jaden, you have it way, I don't think you understand how good you got it compared to other kids. I
Yeah.
say, you got two sets of parents. You got me and your stepdad, and you got your dad and your stepmom. I say, do you know how many people would just
Love
want
that.
a mom and dad, and you don't, and you got both? I'm like, you got two on each side.
Right.
But it's like that wasn't enough for him. That wasn't enough. So it's like he was trying to live this lifestyle that he wasn't raised in. Like I raised Jaden in church since he was born. He's been going to church every single Sunday. Even if he snuck out the house on Sunday morning, he in church with me that
Right.
Sunday. And I'm he going up to the altar. They cover him in prayer. When we would go up there. So fast forward, we got him the therapist December 21st, December 2021. He was going to the therapist, and then I'm gonna say September of 2022, like the end of it, the beginning of October. Um, like he was still sneaking out of the house, and and God came to me one day while I was talking to him about leaving the house, and like our conversation ended, and as soon as I went to walk away, God was like, go back to him, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Jaden, I don't know what you're doing in the street. I said, but God is telling me to tell you to stop whatever it is. I said, I have no clue what it is, but I need you to stop whatever it is that you're doing. And then he looking at me like, what are you talking about? I ain't doing nothing. Like that was his facial expression, and like that was the end of it. And then come my birthday, October 29th, he wanted to he asked to go to my mom's house. My mom was getting off work. She was about to come and get him. And then next thing I know, he's like, well, one of my friends coming to get me. And I was like, why? He's like, he gonna take me to my grandma's house. I was like, why? I'm like, your grandma already on her way. She already off work. She coming to get you. And he's like, no, I'm going to ride with my friend. And I'm like, all right, Jaden. It takes 7 minutes to get to your grandma's house from my house. I'm gonna give you 8, and you better be at your grandma's house.
Yeah.
Time went by. I called my mom. You seen Jaden? No, Jaden not here. Calling Jaden. No, Jaden. Then she texted me the next morning. She was like, your son over here. And I was like, okay, like I'm fine because she done tell me that he's here.
Right.
But like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, I get a boom, boom, boom at my door. And I'm like, well, who at my door? Because that particular Sunday, I wasn't going to church. I think our church went out of town. I wasn't going to church that particular day. And it was the police at my door. And I was like, why y'all here? I'm like, okay, they must be got the wrong address because they've come to my house before because they had the wrong address. And they was like, we're looking for Jaden Hale. And I was like, y'all looking for who? And he was like, we're looking for Jaden Hale. And I was like, well, he's not here. He's at my mama's house. Because I told my son early on, because I come from the legal field. I was a paralegal for over 10
Right.
years. I said, Jaden, I know the law. You don't. If you ever get in trouble, I'm turning you in. I said, because I can't have that in our house.
Right.
Like they're coming to
Understand.
our house because of what you're doing.
Understand that.
So he knew, like he knew that if he ever did anything, that I was going to turn him in. So I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that he didn't tell me that he got in trouble. Because when they came to my house, when he left my house that Saturday on my birthday, him and his friend went and did something, and they saying that they wanted him for armed robbery. And so um when we finally got him, like I didn't know where he was. He wouldn't talk to me. When I called, he wouldn't call. But if my mama called off her phone, he would answer the phone. And she was like, "You need to talk to your mama." He was like, "No, I don't want to talk to her because you know how my mama is. You already know what my mama gonna say. I don't want to talk to my mama because he know I'm gonna tell him to turn himself in."
Right.
So we finally got him to turn himself in on November the 1st. One of my husband's friends said that he would come and get him. He worked for the sheriff office and said that he would come and get him if he turned himself in, and he would take him to jail. So that's what we did. He came and got him 8 o'clock that morning and took him to jail. And we could have bonded him out that same day, but we was like, no, we want to teach him a lesson. Because we're like, we're not gonna be spending money every time you turn around, we're spending money
Mm-hmm.
to get you out of jail. So we let him sit in there for a week. And every day he's calling. Now at the time he's 17. So he wasn't even in the regular population. Like he's secluded with like he was
With
by himself.
minors.
He was the
Yeah.
only minor there. So he was by himself. So when we get him out, I'm thinking, okay, let me back up. I always forget this part. The beginning of 2022, I asked God for 3 things. I asked God for Jaden to have a complete turnaround. I asked God for a new home, and I asked God to restore my marriage.
Yeah.
And um, so when Jaden got out, and I noticed, I was like, oh, okay, he being respectful, okay, not leaving the house because at the time he was on house arrest. He was on an ankle monitor, and then because of what happened between him and his friend, he couldn't go back to his home school. So I got him
Okay.
into what is it called? Sumter Academy, I think that's what they
Okay. One
call
of
it
the
now.
alternative schools.
Yeah, the alternative school.
Yeah.
I got him
Yeah.
into the alternative school, and like he was even gonna graduate early because of all the credits he had. Like he was a smart kid. Um, and so they already had it set where he was like, you just come here, and then and when you finish, like you done, your mama can just come get you. You don't even got to stay all day. You just need
Yeah.
to do your work and then go home. Then he starts sneaking out the house again. And during that time, one of my friends lost her son on December the 4th.
Oh, wow.
And so, it's a lot going around his death. So, you know, I knew all the things that she was going through with her son because I would always tell, I'm like, girl, why it seemed like we going through the same things with our son, but her son was older than Jaden. I think her son was 20, Jaden was 17. And I'm like, why it seem like we going through the same things with our son? And she was like, girl, I don't know. And then when she lost her son and I went to the funeral, I'm like, all right, now, Gina, I came back home, I'm like, Gina, I'm not about to lose my son. Like, I'm not about to lose my son. I'm not about to.
Right.
I said, so I don't know what you're doing out there, but I ain't about to lose my son. And then it's like 2 weeks after that, he took his life because he got in trouble again. And I didn't know that they said when he got out of jail the first time, now mind you, him and his friend on ankle monitors, both of their monitors met together right after he got out. And I think I'm trying to think back. His charges were 4 counts of attempted murder, I believe. That's what it was. And I found out later that he told, I think he told my niece or he told his cousins. He told somebody. He said he wasn't going back to jail. And I didn't know that. Like because it's like, your child. You know your child is doing something, but you can't pinpoint it. Like, 'cause everybody used to tell me I was strict. And I'm like, because I know what's out there. Like,
Right.
and then like it's like when I try to give freedom, you don't listen. So then I take it back. So when it happened, I can't even explain. Um it was a normal day. We was going to pay his ankle bracelet. But they were closed because of the holidays. And we came back home. He was in the kitchen washing the dishes. I was in the den with the little one. Um on training. I was on training with my team. And we got another knock at the door, and Jaden was like, "Ma, who that is at the door?" Now, mind you, he's closer to the door than I am. But he was like, "Ma, can you go get it?" I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "I don't know who this is at my house, but okay." So I went to the door and I looked and I was like, "What? The devil?" Because at this time they got my house surrounded. I got county and state police at my house. And they got my front door surrounded with my porch at. They're outside my gate surrounded. And I'm like, "Why y'all here?" And it was like, "Is Jaden Hale here?" And I was like, "Jaden Hale? What?" Because I'm thinking like, I know he ain't got any trouble no more. Like, this stuff just going through my mind. And before I went to ask him again, like, "Why are y'all here?" I remember seeing Jaden walk out of my peripheral towards his room. And I'm talked to the officer. And then one of the officers that was on the ground in front of me said, "Was that a gunshot?" Because it didn't sound like a gunshot to me. It just sounded like a popping sound. And I was like, "Gunshot." I took off running. I don't even know where the baby was. I don't know where my daughter was because she was, at the time, I had no clue where none of them was. I just know that I ran to Jaden's room and I ran to his door. And he was already gone. And his eyes was open. He was looking towards me. I never went in his room. I never touched him. I just, I was in shock. Like, as I'm talking to you, I'm actually looking in his room because it took me a minute to get here. Because I'm sitting at my desk and my desk is right in front of his room. So it took about 6, 7 months before I was able to sit at my desk again because this is where I always was, and he would be in his room while I was working. Um,
Wow.
and then I just ran outside and I don't know, I was screaming, I was just in shock. My neighbor came over, he was trying to console me. My daughter came out and she was like, "Mommy, why are you crying? Why are you crying like a baby?" And I just couldn't talk to her. The baby, he balled up under me because I'm on the ground, beating on the ground. I'm cursing and I don't even curse. I was in such shock. And then I went to the officer and asked him again, and then I walked away before he could even tell me. And then I'm screaming again, and then I went back to him, and then I was like, "And why are you here now?" And then that's when he was like, "There was a shooting, but no one was killed." And I was like, "Okay." And I went screaming again. And then my neighbor came over, he was talking to me. And then the officer was like, who do you want to call? So now I had to make the hardest calls of my life
Yeah.
and call his dad, who stayed literally, his dad, he used to walk to his dad's house. His dad may stay a 5-minute walk from my house. Call his dad, call my husband, call my mom, and I called my niece. And his daddy actually walked down here. I was like, "So I need you to come here because something happened, and I just need you to get here right now." Like, everybody's trying to figure out why, because they know I don't call them to tell them to come to my house. So it got to be something for me to come down. So his daddy walked to the house, and I had to walk out the yard and tell him what happened.
All right. So you said a lot.
Mhm.
Now, I'm going to switch gears for a fraction of a second because when I opened this episode, I was talking about depression and my experience has been suicidal mentality and ideals. And I heard some things in your story that I had not heard before. So now you, the warrior, the survivor, that is you now have to go around and make sure that other mothers and fathers don't experience this kind of loss in their children, which is seemingly impossible to do. Because you said some things. One, you said you saw signs of him changing. You went on to tell your story, his experience as a teenager that whose behavior changed, and he began to, in my words, not yours, associate with the wrong crowd and
Mhm.
got into some trouble.
Mhm.
And initially hearing your story, I'm thinking he began suffering from depression. But then you said that he told someone that he was not going back to jail. So when he got in trouble the second time, he took his life to avoid what he must have thought was the worst thing that could happen to him. The reason I'm saying this, I've learned through my experience and through school, becoming trained and certified in this area, that not everyone who commits suicide is suicidal.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Everyone who commits suicide is not because they were depressed. The break that I'm hearing happened to your baby, your angel, is what's worse. It wasn't you. It was nothing you could have done.
Mhm.
It's nothing. You did everything that you were should have done as a responsible mom. You got him therapy. You talked to him. You kept him in church. You prayed for him. You had him covered. You reached out and you exercised every tool
Mhm.
that you could humanly do. You could not make him understand or think that even if you get in trouble and have to go to jail, I got you. I'm here for you. That's not the worst thing that can happen to you. Because I found out sometimes when people reach that point of actually committing suicide, it's many times it's just an escape from right now. It's not always because in my case, I was 17 years dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts and self hatred and all this other stuff that I was covering up. But I've learned that in many cases, suicide, the very attempt or act of suicide, is an escape from the right now situation, not because your baby wanted to die. Now, I don't know if that helps or not, but for me, it takes a totally different turn because it's like a whole demographics of people that are left out of this entire mental health wellness journey.
I think that
Because,
was the hard part for me. That was
yeah,
the hard part for me to grasp because I felt like I failed him still.
you did
Even
it.
though I did all of that, I still felt like I failed.
And that's what I wanted to cover in my next book.
Mm.
See, this book that just came out is Life After Suicide, but it focuses on how to overcome and live after suicide. I myself died physically, but I'm talking to people who experience emotional death, mental death, spiritual death, right? Because not everybody comes back from the physical death as I did, thank God. However, there's a whole remnant of people that are left behind, like yourself, So you're standing up for all of those people who are left to live life after suicide, trying to figure out what more could I have done. And I'm telling you that you did everything.
Mm-hmm.
So your step in being an advocate, being the voice for your angel, being the one to tell mothers and fathers all around the globe what to look for, what to do, is to release yourself from thinking at any given moment when it comes upon you,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I should have done, maybe if I did. There's nothing, and I'm telling you what I know that you could have done. Many people, probably more than we can count, have experienced a thought of ending it all at some moment when something
Mm-hmm.
really bad happens or something triggers them. But not everybody reaches that low point where this is it. I'm done. I'm out. I don't see any other answer but taking my life and ending it all.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us have experienced that. I know this because suicide is still on the rise in America, but not everybody who have had a fleeting thought has reached that level of wanting to end it all. Your baby reached that level, and there was nothing mama could have done. Absolutely nothing
Right.
that you could have done or that you didn't do, because he saw it as an end, a means to an end, to end the trouble. Whatever he thought would be the worst punishment that he could have gotten for the trouble he had got, even if he didn't do anything. He was with somebody who did it, or he knows what happened or knew what
Right.
happened, and that would
Mm-hmm.
have put him in a position still to tell. The
Right.
worst possible thing that he thought could have happened to him was not ending his life. So the choice that he made was more out of fear
Right.
than anything else. And I pray that every person who hears this episode, your story, understands that don't operate in fear, don't operate in guilt, don't operate in shame. But my sister, the crown that you have to carry now, the weight of it all right now that is on your shoulders, is you have to sound that alarm and shine that light to everybody who will hear you everywhere you go. Because this is beyond the, oh, my child is depressed, I got to get him therapy, and I got to, it's beyond that. Because sometimes our young people, our babies, don't see an out.
Right.
And right now you're fighting for all the, what's Jalen?
Jaden.
Jade, all the Jadens out there, whether they've gotten themselves mixed up with the wrong crowd or anything else that may have transpired. And honey, I'm looking at you and I'm telling you, you are made for this. This grieving gracefully is your responsibility, your journey. And you are made the right one for this, to help all those mothers and fathers and all those Jadens when they get through hearing your story, with you telling them there is a way out that does not require you ending in your life. And I can't tell you how blessed I feel in this moment to be able to just have you grace my stage with your presence and your strength that you have exemplified for this journey. Don't you stop.
Mm-hmm.
So before we end this episode, because it's almost at the end, girl, you got me crying. I'm gonna have to bring you back. You coming on the television show with me next. But I need you to tell others, tell everybody how you can be reached. Tell
um,
us.
okay, so I had to create new pages. So
Yeah.
so on Facebook, you can find me at Grieving Gracefully. On Instagram, you can find me at the real REAL Sallie SALLIE D Isaac, the real Sallie D Isaac. You can
Okay.
also find me on YouTube on Grieving Gracefully, and you can find me on TikTok. Um, I am Sallie D.
You all heard it here. If you hear it nowhere else, find her on every social media platform. Look, message her today. Hear more of her story. There's so much she didn't get to share here today. She will be back. I want you all to reach out to her and know that you're not alone, because this icon right here that stands before us is showing us how to grieve gracefully through the journey of her own angel. So we love you all. We thank God for you. Continue to be here with us on Empowerment Podcast Network, the #1 empowerment platform in the land. We are one. My guest, Sallie Isaac, Grieving Gracefully Superstar, will be coming back at a later date, but find her on social media. Connect with her now and hear more of how God is using her as she's continuing to exemplify her great strength. That strength, she said, is a gift from God. I heard it when she said it in the beginning. God gifted her with the strength for her journey. We thank God for you, my sister. Continue to let God use you in this mighty way. We love you. We thank God for you. Holler at your girl. Come back and continue to join us right here on We Are One. God bless you.